What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge NFL Pick Show, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Will Brinson here, along with Larry Hartstein, Mike McClure, and R.J. White. I was going to make a joke about being late, but then I was actually late, and so I thought that the joke wouldn't be as funny. Fortunately, this is not on live television this time. This is recorded. You're watching it on YouTube. We're going to give out best bets for Thursday night and every game across the week for slate. Raise your hand if you got a Survivor team that's still alive. Wow. 2?
4. Yeah, I got 4 of them. And I haven't lost yet. I've been very aggressive this year, and it's paid off.
What is your most? My buddy Blaine wanted to do a maniac like entry that go just insane. Like
I played Vikings on the road week 1.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, I played Vikings week 1, Seattle week 2. And Texans week 2. And then last week I played the Jets across the board.
You played all 4 on the Jets.
Yep. Today, undecided on all of them yet, but leaning 3 of 4 Cowboys, believe it or not. Wow. The Cowboys may not be favored in their next 6 games. It's a must win. If they don't win this, McCarthy's out by week 8. I think it's
take it. Just keep rolling with the analysis of the Thursday night game. You're doing my work for me here, Mike.
Now, bring us in the right way. But yes, I got Survivor. I'm fired up about it because of all the carnage. Like 95% of the pool gone through 3 weeks.
If you're alive, you're feeling great about life. All right, Cowboys minus 5.5 at the Giants. 45-point total, 8:15 Eastern on Amazon Prime with Al and Herbie. It's a good show. I like Amazon. It's not bad. It's a little slow. This is a big one for both teams. Both teams 1 and 2. Cowboys, I mean, there was buzz last week about Brian Dable's job being, a little sketchy and losing the locker room. They go out and have a great performance against Cleveland. And then meanwhile, man, the Cowboys they got stomped by the Ravens. They came back, but it was a stomping, RJ. This line is pretty big for a team that hadn't been very good on defense this year. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, notwithstanding Mike's very hot Survivor picks and liking Dallas, the way I like this game is the Giants. I mean, their strength on defense is up front. Dallas tackles are struggling. Maybe Giants don't have to blitz to get consistent pressure here. Dallas's defense supposedly is supposed to be elite. It's been a major issue. Daniel Jones looked great on the road in another supposed tough matchup at Cleveland. Neighbors gives the Giants a chance at scoring points against anyone, so you can get a backdoor cover if needed on a relatively big home number. I just think Dallas is not playing well enough to be 5.5 or 6-point road favorites in a divisional matchup against anyone. I'd make this line somewhere around 4.
Larry, you have an actual pick on this game, but it's of the prop variety.
Yeah, no, I lean Cowboys. I think the Giants being down a couple more corners is not going to help them against CeeDee Lamb, who definitely will make amends for that horrific performance. I love the way he owned up to it this week. I think they're going to go to him early and often. Definitely like him for an anytime touchdown. But my favorite prop is Devin Singletary. We talked about the Cowboys not being able to stop the run. 484 rushing yards allowed the last couple weeks. That's not the season. And the most explosives of any team, 29% of runs are going for 10-plus yards. Singletary looks very, very fresh. He's broken or caused to, miss tackles, 21 tackles. That's the most in the NFL. You know what I'm trying to say. He's been breaking tackles. So 1 rush at 15 yards. But I'm seeing this up to 15.5 now. This was posted a couple days ago. I'd still play it over 15.5.
Mike, and I assume you're Mr. First Quarter.
Yeah, a lot of first quarter plays. I did play Dallas 4.5 as well. I made the number 6.5 here. So I do like Dallas in a number of ways, but if you're Dallas here, you have to have a hot start, and you need to be playing neutral or in front. The reason Dallas has struggled twice this season is they really kind of got blitzed early in both of those games, and that really changed things a lot for them. So I definitely think they're better than what they've represented out there on the field. I think the Saints are a very good offense still as well. So, and we know what the Ravens can do with that run game. I think the Giants, while they do have a legitimate run game, I think that they definitely have concerns defensively in the passing game. I rate them 28th in defensive EPA against the pass. So I think they're going to struggle there. CeeDee Lamb been very vocal over the last few days. I think he's going to get the ball early. but it's really the kicking game too. Well, like you get a 60-yard field goal in the first quarter, you start the ball at the 30 essentially with the new rules. Like we're talking having to gain 25 yards essentially is all this Cowboys team needs to do to be able to put 3 points on the board at any given moment. So I like the Cowboys a lot in the first quarter, but I did play them full game as well.
I dig it. I've got a pick on a Malik Neighbors anytime touchdown plus money. Obviously, the Cowboys are going to want to slow down Neighbors, but I do think the way that their defense is playing, as bad as it is against the run, and knowing how Brian Dable is willing to feed Devin Singletary, I think they have to stack the box and like try to be aggressive in slowing down the Giants from running the ball. Neighbors, single coverage, double coverage, whatever you want to do. He's getting the ball 35% of the time. That is a ridiculous target share, and he's seeing plenty of red zone looks as well. He can make the crazy catches. He can also just get wide open like he did in his 2-touchdown game. It'll be a fun one, though. Mike McCarthy, they lose his favorites at the Giants, and he's living in a furnace. Yeah. The Saints, we mentioned them before, actually dealing with a lot of offensive line injuries. Alvin Kamara banged up as well. They're at the Falcons this week. Atlanta, a 2.5-point favorite with a total of 42 here, RJ.
Yeah, tough one here. A lot of injuries to deal with on both sides of the ball. The Wednesday practice report for New Orleans was very troubling. Alvin Kamara out, Cesar Ruiz out, Demario Davis out, Alante Taylor out, a few other guys questionable. We know they also lost Eric McCoy, the center. Atlanta dealing with offensive line injuries of their own. Dahlman, their center, out, was number 5. McGarry's is also hurt. He wasn't practicing. So seems like an under game to me. Under 42.5 would be the way to play it. New Orleans offense couldn't get anything going without McCoy last week. Atlanta probably doesn't have the personnel to replicate Philly's plan, but New Orleans offense ceiling is lowered. So I think I would go there. It's hard to play New Orleans side with injury. So I think if you're going to look at the spread, you're going to try to get a small number with the Falcons, but I think under is probably the way to go in this game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to play Mike knowing all these injuries, right, on both offensive lines.
Yeah, I'm more interested in a prop market here, and it's really just going to continue to speculate on Chris Olave. I think the guy's absolutely elite. You watch what Rashee Rice did to this defense. I think that it's not going to quite be that scenario, but I do think going over 4.5 or 5.5 receptions is a way to look with Olave. The thing about Atlanta is they play extremely fast, and that's completely the opposite of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are great at trying to run clock and dominate time of possession. Atlanta operates quick, and that's fine if they're playing well, but if for some reason they're not playing well and you're able to stop them, we're talking about extra possessions the other way just because of how quickly they play. So for me, if the run game's damaged at all on the Saints side, I just think the volume to Olave is the way I would look.
Yeah, and Rashid Shaheed, I don't know if it was a squeaky wheel game, but he didn't have any. He had goose egg last week, Larry. So potential for them to attack vertically.
For sure, especially if the Falcons don't get that pressure up the middle, give Carr a little bit of time. That's what he didn't get against the Eagles. The one angle I'm looking at, guys, also in the prop market is Bijan Robinson, gets totally shut down by the Chiefs. What did he average per carry? It was pretty pathetic. I think this is a game where he gets back on track. If you look at the zone run scheme that the Falcons have, that's where the Saints have been gashed on the ground. So I'm looking at Bijan over, even though they are going to be missing those 2 starting offensive linemen. I still think he's going to go over.
Right. Let's head to the NFC, where a pair of 1 and 2 teams who probably thought they had playoff aspirations before the season square off. The Rams at the Bears. Bears are -3 here, a total of 41. I mean, we know the story with the Rams. All the offensive linemen hurt, Mike, all the receivers. And for the Bears, it's really just, wow, nice to meet you, Shane Waldron. You kind of stink.
Yeah, I actually like the Bears here. I think that them being favored is absolutely deserved. The Rams are a team somewhat like the Lions, but more so than the Lions, in my opinion. I'm interested in backing the Rams, or at least not fading them when they're playing indoors in a controlled environment. This team has excelled in those situations. They have not, when you remove that element and they have to play outdoors. You don't have Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua that really, really hurts. But the Chicago Bears defense, when you look in terms of EPA, they've been a top 5 defense. And, that's frankly the reason why they've been competitive. You look at that game that the Bears played with Houston, the offense was atrocious in that game, but they had a shot to win it because that defense was playing lights out in the third quarter. That is what I expect here, is a strong defensive performance. And I think every week we get a little further, I think the game starts to slow down for Caleb Williams, could potentially have more weapons back. I think we see a little bit of a change up in the backfield, a little less Swift, a little more Roshan Johnson. I like the Bears here. I know it's interesting to fade a team like the Rams coming off that win, but I like the Bears in this one.
Yeah, worth noting, the coaching staff actually even said they're going to give Roshan Johnson some run here. So if I picked him up in a couple fantasy leagues, I think, just as like a speculative ad in case, if you need help at running back. Larry, you've got to lean on the Bears as well, right?
Yeah, anything less than 3, I like the Bears as well. It's funny because the Bears are averaging the fewest yards per play in the league at 3.7, and the Rams are allowing the most in the league at 6.8. Look at that amazing graphic that comes up to support my point. But I think this is where the Bears actually should have some success. Keenan Allen should be back there. You have Caleb Williams coming off a game of 363 passing yards. You should be able to run against this Rams team. And that was such a fluky win, division rival, shocking comeback win where they had like a 3% chance in the fourth quarter. Now you travel. And the Bears defense is legit. I'd lay it at less than 3.
RJ, I was going to say, the Shane Waldron revenge game. You like that? You like that angle? Yeah, you love that angle.
Not really. No, he does not look great. You see that graphic about the worst yards per play, just not doing a good job. And yes, the Rams have allowed the most yards per play. They've also at Detroit, at Arizona, and home against San Francisco. A lot of defenses are going to have trouble stopping those offenses, especially with what we've seen from Arizona. I would play the other way with +3. I do agree it is a come down spot for the Rams. So that kind of goes against what you were saying about, how could you fade the Rams coming off that great performance? I think that's exactly the spot you want to fade a team like that. But how can you lay a field goal with Chicago right now? I mean, their offense not looking great. Hopefully Caleb will get it together, but he hasn't looked great. I'm just going to take a full field goal in this type of matchup and hope Stafford versus Caleb is the main decider there. And if I'm going to get a field goal, that's going to be the way I lean.
Right back to you, RJ, on Vikings at Packers. Packers -2.5, total of 43.5. We don't know. Jordan Love's been out on the field. We don't know if he's going to play. Matt LaFleur, these are the two coaches who should be leading the Coach of the Year race. Matt LaFleur, the stuff he's done with Malik Willis, the work he's done has been nothing short of outstanding. And it's only like overshadowed by Sam Darnold being the top shelf MVP candidate. I love the idea of a teaser here with the Vikings, which is what you're going with, right?
Yeah, I like teasing the Vikings up. This line kind of tells you that Love is playing. There'd be a lot more hesitation with it if he wasn't playing. So you do get if for some reason he is ruled out, you do get a ton of value there. I'm still not sure the Green Bay defense is very good. They've benefited from playing turnover machines the last 2 weeks. That's kept the score lower than it probably deserves to be. And Minnesota's defense might be the best in the NFL. Just had back-to-back good games against elite offenses. Both were at home, and I know we're talking about how they've kind of juiced what they could do at home based on what they're doing with their facilities there. But I think you take that defense even on the road here, they can win versus a less than 100% Jordan Love. So if he was perfectly healthy, because of how well the Vikings have played, I think this is probably an appropriate line. But if you want to say 3, that's fine. Play the dog at +3. And if you can't get +3 and it's only going to be 2.5, I'd say tease the Vikings up because they're a very good team.
All right. Anybody have thoughts on this one? I mean, whether or not Jordan Love plays? Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's going to play, but I think it's not a good matchup when you face a team that's number 1 in pressure rate, number 1 in sacks, number 2 in blitz rate. You've got to be very mobile against this team to have success. And, he was through 50% completion rate in his only appearance this season before he got hurt. So I'm sure he's going to try to come back because it's a divisional game, but it's an Aaron Jones revenge game. Aaron Jones averaging 5.5 yards per carry, looks totally healthy. He wants to stick it to the Packers. I could only look at Minnesota.
That's actually on me for not remembering this is the Aaron Jones revenge game. I don't know if
You're
I can
the king of revenge games.
This is like I've been doing a bunch of underdog drafts for like the Battle Royale where it's like six rounds, 6 players, and like just peppering Aaron Jones. I mean, he's a revenge guy. Like he blows up in spots. I think this is I'll take the over. Actually, forgot on my best bets article that's coming up on the site. There's an editing situation so it's not up yet. It's actually not my fault. I submitted it on time. Which is not believable, but whatever. Aaron Jones over 57.5 rushing yards. That seems too low to me. Like they're going to feed this guy. I probably prefer, I don't think it's up yet, the rush receiving combo, just because I think he'll catch a bunch of balls out of the backfield. But I played the over on 57.5, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying my lean in this game is going to be the Packers team total under 23.5. I think it's big, getting this number. They could score 20, 21 or 23. I think there's definitely a scenario, even if Love does play, that he doesn't ended up finishing the game. And if that were the case, I think you see an extremely conservative game plan. I think you already see a pretty conservative game plan from them anyway. So one of those scenarios where I think they could punt more, play the field position game, try and keep it a one-score game and just get the game to the fourth quarter. So I do lean a little bit on the under for the game, but now that you can get this 23.5 on the Packers side, I go under their team total there.
Yeah, and you're getting either a hobbled Jordan Love or Malik Willis, and that means probably not a lot of explosion in the offense. Oh, man. Before the season, I predicted the Steelers would go 6-11 this year, and Steelers fans are letting me know that I did that 3 weeks ago because they are in my Minchies. They are jamming. It's like every time the Steelers win, I get like 14 like new Instagram requests and like 50 tweets at me saying like, "Hey, loser, bozo, how do you like that?" I'm like, well, yeah, you got me. I don't know. Tip my cap. I guess I'm a loser. Steelers are favored on the road at the Colts, Larry, -1.5 with a total of 40 here.
It's still a low number. I know you never want to back Mike Tomlin as a favorite, but Justin Fields, I believe what I'm seeing. I think, this is a good system for him where he doesn't have to do too much. He just makes the occasional play where he sprints for a first down, is making some really good throws. And I just think Anthony Richardson, all the talent in the world, you're going to get the splash play, but you're getting the turnovers. 6 interceptions and a fumble in 3 games. The interception rate, I believe, RJ, you pointed this out, over 8%, which would be historic for a full season. He's not throwing much, and he still has 6 interceptions. I trust that Steelers defense to make a couple of turnovers. If you told me before the game he's going to play a clean game, I would be on the Colts. But I trust that defense to force him into mistakes.
RJ, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, Richardson, one of the biggest boomer bust quarterbacks ever. If he keeps this up, kind of Tim Tebow level, that one good year Tebow had, some of the Michael Vick seasons where he didn't play a full season, things like that. So it's interesting. Their offense is only big plays and turnovers, and Pittsburgh isn't going to give up the former. So how are they going to score? They're going to need sustained drives, and they have not shown the ability to do that. Pittsburgh's defense second in percent of drives that end in a score. Indy's offense is 25th, and there's a similar split in turnover percentage because of how bad they are turning the ball over. Arthur Smith's offense, you talk about he came to prominence with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, right, in Tennessee. Then he goes to Atlanta with all these quarterbacks that do nothing. Isn't Justin Fields like the better version of Ryan Tannehill? Can run around, can manage a game a bit, and I think he probably is loving what he's seeing from that quarterback because it's kind of a throwback for him. His offense had a big day against Indy last year with Taylor Heineke at quarterback. And so I think Pittsburgh's offense has upside in this matchup above what you would think in a 40-point game. Best bet for me is also going to be Pittsburgh -1.5.
Mike, anything on this game for you?
No, just want to point out that Anthony Richardson has the highest passing total in this game and is currently set at 183.5. That's it. That's all I got for you. I got nothing.
Yeah. Man, the Anthony Richardson experiment is not going particularly great. They haven't been running him. He's not scrambling. He doesn't scramble. It's the weirdest thing to do. Scramble, run. I know you got hurt, but scramble, man. All right. Broncos at Jets. Jets -7.5. Total of 39.5. I regret to inform you, RJ, that this is a semi-revenge game as Aaron Rodgers attempts to get revenge on Sean Payton for criticizing Nathaniel Hackett, and also a Nathaniel Hackett revenge game. What say you?
Yeah, you got to watch out for them Nathaniel Hackett revenge games because he really knows how to make teams pay with how great he is as an offensive coordinator. No, I like the Jets here. I like him at 7.5 because I think the line should be higher than that. Broncos offense looked great versus beat up Tampa Bay defense. Only had 2 touchdowns in that game. One was on a 9-yard drive. Still not getting the big plays they need to out of Nixon. And a great matchup there. They didn't really get that many big plays. Huge upgrade in matchup here. Jets defense rounded into form versus a limited New England offense, which I think this offense is also kind of limited. They're also coming off extra rest. They might be getting CJ Mosley back, which is big for them. And on defensive side, Denver's Alex Singleton's a big loss for them. A linebacker was playing well. I think the Jets are going to control the game here on offense and then shut it down on defensive side. I'd like them to cover, like I said. Teaser's the smartest play with the set now that it's at 7.5. Definitely play the Jets if you see the 7 again. But I'm making it the second leg of my teaser with the Vikings here. So Minnesota plus 8.5, Jets minus 1.5 is my teaser this week.
Yeah, not gonna lie, Mike. The Jets. I mean, I think it's gonna be interesting to watch. We talked about the Falcons, but sort of like how Aaron Rodgers progresses from his injury, and then like maybe Kirk Cousins is like, I don't know, 8 weeks behind him or something like that. I think that's viable. Rodgers looked pretty good in the last game.
Oh, yeah. Rodgers looked phenomenal in that last game. And look, I think that this team's got a pretty easy schedule coming up as well, which is why I think a number of us had some high aspirations for them, whether it be on the win total in the division, et cetera. So I like this spot for them. I think that they might start to see some spreads because of the easy schedule, like we've seen with the Kansas City Chiefs, where you see games that are just really never in doubt. It comes down to, do they have the desire to go out there and cover the spread or not? So I do make this game right at the 7.5. I'm not playing it right now. If you said, Mike, I need you to give me a play for this game, honestly, I think my favorite market here would be Broncos first half team total under 7.5. I think that they might get a touchdown. They might get 2 field goals, but I do not see a touchdown and a field goal in the first half from the Broncos side.
Yeah, worth noting that Bo Nix's incredible game last week came against the Todd Bowles defense. When I picked the Bucs as a best bet, I had forgotten that Sean Payton is undefeated against Todd Bowles when he plays him defensively. Like bad job by me forgetting that, because he did it again. And now this is, not a Todd Bowles defense, Larry.
Yeah, well, it was a bad job by me as well, because I was on the Bucs. But there were so many injuries, starting with Vita Vea, and there's so many injuries on that Tampa Bay team, plus the left tackle, which hindered the offense. And we'll get to the Bucs soon. But to me, I'm not taking that much away, like RJ said, from the Denver performance. Yeah. If I could have gotten 7, I would have. But at this number, I'm staying away. All
right, you mentioned the Bucs. Eagles are at the Buccaneers. RJ, is this a revenge game for last year's playoffs? I wish I'd started this bit of the first game just to see how annoyed you could get if I managed to shoehorn in 16 or so, 16 different revenge games across the board. Total of 43 as well.
I've been doing podcasts with you for years. If I'm not annoyed at the revenge game bit by this point, it's not going to happen no matter how many games you do it in one show. I don't know how to pick Eagles versus Buccaneers, because this game is not Eagles versus Buccaneers. It's what the Eagles backups at a bunch of positions versus the Buccaneers backups at a bunch of positions. Oh
God, dude! I don't. Could you see how flushed I just got? Me thinking I had read the wrong game. I was like, God, man, really? I was gonna be like, it's actually the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Will
So you look at it's like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, limited in practice. Kalijah Kancey still DNP, Vita Vea limited in practice, Antoine Winfield still DNP. We'll see if those guys come and play. Tristan Wirfs limited in practice, the other tackle limited in practice. And then on the Eagles side, we know the big ones, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson. Who knows if they play? I need to know who's playing in this game to pick it. Too many key injuries to know. If Vea and Kancey are out, fire away on your Saquon overs, as the offense should just hand it to him, and he should get 100+ yards and 20+ attempts. And Mayfield should be able to score against questionable Philly D, allowing 6 yards per play, but he needs those receivers in there. So the play is just going to depend on the injury report. My lean would be to Tampa right now, just because I don't know why Eagles are laying 2 points when we don't know who's going to be on offense for them.
Yeah. Any edge here, Mike, with all the injuries that trying to jump in? I agree. RJ's point is probably pretty salient there. You're flipping a coin on and really need to know what the inactives are going to be on Sunday, right?
Yeah, you definitely want the inactives here. I still lean the Eagles' way. I have them rated a little higher than the market for sure here. The thing about the Eagles that I love, and even with limited personnel, I think they're still going to be able to possess the football. By far the most drives of 10+ plays in the NFL, and I think that's going to continue just because of the style of football that they play. Saquon Barkley has been phenomenal, and I think he's going to have that because I think Jalen Hurts is still just strong enough to run the football. It really comes down to, will Kellen Moore get in their way or not? Because if they wanted to go in there and just run the football, I think that they could run the football and be fine the entire day. We'll see what Dallas Goedert looks like. Hopefully he's not the only one out there catching passes, but I do like the Eagles side in this one. I don't like Tampa Bay much in this matchup. I still think the Eagles can generate a pass rush. And I was actually the game was pretty ugly overall, but I was pretty encouraged by what I saw against the New Orleans Saints from Philly. And I really thought they could have put that game away and won it, easier than it ended up being. And that's certainly been the story with Philly this season, really across their games. But when I look at this team, it's really about the ball control here. And I think that they're going to be able to do that again. So especially if we get rain, we might have rain from this hurricane on Sunday still. And if that happens, I think it's a big edge for the Eagles, especially if Vita Vea is out.
Yeah. We should try to think with I know landfall is Thursday, but it's really a bizarre path for the hurricane that we really never seen. Like Atlanta is going to catch some, like I know a Charlotte meteorologist pointed out, like Atlanta might end up getting something sort of like Hugo in the Carolinas in 95, where it's like, or 98, where it's like, I mean, or maybe it's 95, whatever, you don't see it like that kind of hurricane that far inland. So keep an eye on that, certainly for everybody to be safe, but also for gambling purposes. We care about both of them. Yes, Larry.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I had any guts in this game, I would bet Jahan Dotson props. But, the guy's been out there for like 100 routes, and he's got 5 targets, and they don't have wide receivers, and yet Jalen Hurts still won't throw him the ball. So if there was ever a day that he should get targeted, it's Sunday.
Backup tight end overs. Who is it now? Grant Calcaterra or somebody like that. That's
Calcaterra. If I get bet on that dude to catch the first pass of the game, that's the easiest money you make all week. He's definitely going backup tight end first play. Should be a Saquon Barkley run. Won't touch the ball to Saquon in the first 5 plays for whatever reason. That's the Kellen Moore special.
Kellen Moore. So what a cutie patootie he is. I was trying to look really quickly to see surely, I mean, like the prop. I'm trying to, let me see if I can find. Oh, so you can get some decent anytime touchdown. All right, I'll tell you what I like. Anytime touchdown scorer on this game. I see a 5-1 for Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson, like later round pick, freak athlete, had got some like decent preseason reps with this team, has been out on the field. Jahan Dotson can't get it going, and Paris Campbell, has been on the practice squad. It's not that crazy.
Needs to learn how to catch first. He had some bad drops last week.
His biggest attribute right now is going to be drawing a pass interference penalty. It's third and 12 or longer. Just throw it up and let him play offense and defense at the same time.
Bengals and the Panthers. I'm in. I'm not going to pretend this isn't a major revenge game. Andy Dalton, the team that drafted him, trying to bury the Bengals and keep hope alive for Carolina. And the idiot bet I made at 20-1 last week that they're going to win the NFC South. Bengals minus 4.5. What's notable about this, RJ, is that friggin' total of 47.5. We wouldn't see a total above 40 with Bryce Young, and we get 47.5 with Andy Dalton and Joe Burrow. And I think I actually didn't have it in my picks column, but I was one of the ones I was debating. The over here, the Bengals can't stop anybody, and the Panthers defense is trash.
Yeah, I have the over 47 here, 47.5 if you want. This game should be 50, I think. Dalton was a massive boost to the Carolina offense, as expected. Pretty easy to identify what the issue was there with that offense. Cincy's D could not get a stop at home against Washington. As you said, Carolina's D also a problem. Cincy's offense likely to be better this week with T. Higgins closer to 100%. The weather seems fine as of now. You were talking about the path of the hurricane. Let's keep an eye on it just to see if anything pops up there. But right now the forecast is looking clear, and if it stays clear, this total needs to be higher, even outdoors on that field with the Panthers, because I think one of these teams is getting to 30.
I believe that the rain is going to be earlier. Like there's like Lake James, which is near Catawba County, and like the mountain, Asheville is getting. There's been tornadoes up in the mountains, which is like just crazy. You don't see that like above Blowing Rock here. And so if the rain in the hurricane goes through by Sunday, the weather in North Carolina this time of year immediately following a hurricane is as pristine as it gets. So yeah, I mean that would be, if it lingers around, be careful of the total. But if it goes through, very good over weather, Larry.
Yeah, no, I like the over here with the Bengals. They didn't punt either on Monday Night Football. That offense, they didn't cash in every time, but with T. Higgins back, they are going to roll because, as you know, Will, this Panthers defense, they lack talent. I mean, Derek Brown is out. Brian Burns is gone. So they are going to tear up the Panthers. And on the other side, Andy Dalton, even without Thielen, I think will be able to move the ball. That Cincy defense is very banged up and not a great defense to begin with. So, yeah, a lot of points here.
Mike, any thoughts on this game?
I like the Bengals side. I made the number 6 here. I would play it at 4. When I look at this matchup, it's truly a must-win game. Now, Cincy, it's nearly impossible to recover from 0-3. They can do it. Looking at the schedule, they definitely can do it. If they lose this game, though, they are absolutely done. The thing that's interesting here for me is Jamar Chase now on the injury report with the shoulder. If they don't win this game, I have a feeling that shoulder is going to be very sore, and he's probably not going to play another snap, considering he hasn't locked up a long-term contract. They're 0-4, play the Ravens in the next game. Things are very, very ugly. So this is truly must-win territory, just like we kind of thought the Ravens were in must-win territory last week at Dallas. To me, this one is similar. I think you get everything they've got. They couldn't be worse defensively. They just played a 7-on-7 game against Washington. And I think it's going to have to be a little better effort on that side of the ball. But for me, I love Jamar Chase in this matchup. And ultimately, I think the Bengals, while they do win and cover the spread here, I look at their team total over is probably the best play until I see something more on their defense.
I think that Zach Moss could have a field day here too. Panthers really can't stop anybody. They played great against Las Vegas, but I mean, kind of dead cat bounce. Also, reasonably notable that your point about Jamar Chase, I wouldn't be shocked if after facing the Commanders and the Panthers easy pass defenses, if T. Higgins hamstring started to hurt again, and if the Bengals lose. Jaguars at the Texans. Texans -6, coming off just a beat down at the hands of the Vikings. The Jaguars even more embarrassing against the Bills on Monday night. Larry, total here of 45.5 as well.
Yeah, this is a spot where in general you'd like to back the Jaguars because they were embarrassed on national TV and they're going to come back and show some pride in a divisional game. But I just love the fact that the Texans also are coming off an embarrassing performance where they lost 34-7 at Minnesota. And if you look at that game, I mean, Laramie Tunsil had 6 penalties by himself. Minnesota is such a tough place to play. They are going to be totally different at home facing this Jaguars defense where the Jaguars keep saying it doesn't matter who we have in the secondary. We are playing man coverage, and Nico Collins is going to go nuts. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a nice game. I think the Texans offense is going to carry the day, and then that pass rush is going to force Trevor into some mistakes. So I didn't really like what I heard this week out of the Jags in terms of, okay, this is going to be a last stand type of a game. I'd rather bank on the Texans at home where they did look good. To me, they dominated the Bears, should have won that game by double digits, just had a fumble at the goal line that prevented the cover. I think this one is 10 or more.
All right. Man, sorry. I got like quasi distracted there because somebody sent a National Weather Service thing that said this will be one of the most significant weather events to happen in the western part of North Carolina, like since the 1916 floods of Asheville. So like for real, if you're betting the over in the Panthers Bengals game, I mean, obviously health and safety matter more than the over in the Bengals game, but if you're betting that over, just be a little bit cautious of what the weather will do. RJ, your thoughts on the Texans here?
Yeah, love Houston here. They disappointed against Minnesota, but tough environment where against a very good defense. That's not what they're facing here. Jacksonville terrible in every way against Buffalo. Had a bad plan going in, had bad execution. I don't know how that improves in 6 days against a tough opponent here on the road in a divisional game. Houston has a much easier defensive match here, like I said, especially with the Foye Oluokun out. You talked about the receivers getting their deal. He's a great cover guy. So Dalton Schultz, running backs, they may have a lot more easier chance of doing something here. I stopped giving Jacksonville the benefit of the doubt in my rankings where I had them as an average team. I moved them down to -2, which makes my line here with home field advantage Houston -8 because I do believe Houston is among the elite teams. And I'm just kind of throwing out what happened last week. So best bet for me is Houston -6.
Mike, you on board with my thesis that Bill Belichick is the Jaguars coach in 2025?
It's definitely possible. You look at the schedule coming up. If they don't win this game, there's a good chance that Doug stays in London after the doubleheader in London. So, when we look at this matchup, though, I'm a little higher on the Jags, but it's mostly because I'm lower on the Texans than the market. It's a division game. It's a comfortable track indoors, one that they should, be able to put a good effort out there. Really, other than Evan Ingram, the Jags' problems really aren't injury related. It's just been some of the execution and decisions that they've made. We saw them play a decent game against Miami before Miami was hurt. I'm not betting anything here yet. The model says I should be. That's just a situation I want to stay away from. I think if you're optimistic about the Jags like I am, the best look is going to be their team total over 19.5. I see many paths to them ultimately putting a 20th point on the board here and still losing and still potentially not covering in this one. So if I had to play it, it would be Jags team total over 19.5.
Okay. Let's take a quick break for an advertisement.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
All right, welcome back. NFL Pick Show here. Best Bet Show. I am on the Commanders and the Cardinals, the over in this game. Marvin Harrison got added to the injury report dealing with a quad issue. That really threw me for a loop because I've been drafting like first in those underdog drafts that I mentioned, just thinking like this is the week. Arizona should get going here. Washington should get going. The Cardinals lost Justin Jones for the season as well, so it's a little bit of a loss on the inside there. I know you're with me on the over, RJ, which probably terrifies you because this is the squarest over of the week, but I don't think it matters.
Yeah, it's such a big number too. Try to get 50. Both teams have had two shootouts and one game where a lower score didn't reflect the successes of the offenses. That Giants Washington game, we know, had a bunch of field goals in it. And then Arizona had that game against Detroit last week where probably should have been more scoring based on the offense of output of both teams. Neither defense looks capable of getting stops consistently, and both offenses can score in bunches. I am worried about the Harrison injury. I'm worried about Trey McBride and the concussion protocol. I think that just means Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch have big games, because this Washington defense isn't stopping anybody. Total's already very high, but again, one of these teams getting to 30 and the other won't be far behind. You can see both of them at 30. So I like taking the over here.
Yeah, I mean, we've just consistently seen, like, as great as Jaden Daniels was on Monday night, I mean, the story for Washington has to be, Mike, that they just cannot stop, anybody. They can't stop anybody. Like, it's like every week some wide receiver or quarterback is the number one guy in fantasy going against Washington.
Yeah, the defense has been literally historically bad. It can only go up from where it's at, you would think. It's been really, really bad defensively. And maybe the win and all the positivity around the offense and Jaden Daniels really sparks something defensively for them at some point. But until then, I'm going to look to fade them in spots like this, especially if you're finding threes. It's mostly 3.5s at this point. But I do like the Cardinals side here. I know that Trey McBride's very likely to miss this game. I don't think it matters. I think the Austin Eckler injury is actually more significant, which is funny to talk about Austin Eckler at this point in his career as a running back actually mattering, but it's just a product of that offense, right? It's a run first team that uses Austin Eckler in the passing game as an extension of the run. And I do think Brian Robinson is more than capable of catching those passes and doing that, but it's still not what they want to do in this particular spot. So while Jaden Daniels has been awesome, I'm very bullish on him long-term. I think asking for 90% completion percentage or 70% like we saw in another game is just frankly not going to happen, even if it is passes around the line of scrimmage. So he looked great hitting the deep balls. I'm not confident and ready to say that that's going to be repeatable week after week just yet. So I'm going to be on the Cardinals side here because I think Kyler Murray can absolutely get loose against this defense.
What a fool I am, Larry.
I was going to
Kingsbury revenge game. Yeah.
So disappointed in you that you didn't talk about the Cliff Kingsbury revenge angle here. And he brings an exciting offense, but I do think that Austin Eckler is going to be missed severely in this offense and what he was doing. He has a burst right now that I don't think we saw last year, but the year before he reminds me of. And I think Arizona is getting a little bit downgraded. I like this at 3 or less just because, they played pretty well against the Lions. And there was a couple of questionable calls that could have had them winning or at least covering that game, thinking about the pick six for one of those. So I would lean Arizona because I do think Eckler matters.
And Jaden, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say to that point, yeah, they pushed with Detroit, who, again, is a great team. Maybe not, it looked super great. They gave the Bills a real scare on the road in Buffalo week 1. So I think this team is a lot better than people think.
Yeah, they're on the rise too. Like, and Seattle looks pretty good, but they could make some noise in the NFC West with all the injuries piling up, including a host of skill position injuries to the 49ers, who are a 10.5-point favorite with no CMC, maybe no. I think Kittle's supposed to be back. No Debo. It's really, really just feels like a ton of the NFC West is getting hammered with injuries, but you get the Patriots at home, RJ, and you're a 10.5-point favorite with a 40 and 40.5 total.
And Kendrick Bourne is still on PUP, so it is not a Kendrick Bourne revenge game. I will point out he used to play for San Francisco, so we don't have to worry about that factor. Hargrave is a key loss on the D-line for San Francisco too. You go through the offensive injuries. That can make things easier on the New England run game here. If the offensive line injuries are sorted out, which I don't know if they are, because they have 4 guys, both their starters and backups on the left side, either missing practice or limited. So if they figure that out, maybe they have a shot here. I know Trent Williams also dealing with an injury. Figure San Francisco has to get it turned around at some point. But this is a pretty tough defense for them to run up the score. Need their weapons back. I don't know why they want to come out here and score a ton of points, 30, 35. And with their defense playing poorly outside of Bosa and Warner, with New England an extra rest, the only way I'm going to look is the dog, especially now that it's over 10 at most places.
Yeah, Mike, we've seen all these 7.5-point dogs win outright, and it's like this. Vegas is so down on the Patriots, they moved to 10.5 here.
Yeah, the Patriots are not good. There's no way around it. They're not good. It's a travel spot. It's a road game. The Niners certainly are not elite right now, but I think they've got enough to ultimately get it done. I'm not playing anything here. If I looked at anything, again, it would be a Patriots team total under, potentially a first half team total under. I think they're going to struggle in this particular spot, but I can't get to anything here.
Yeah, it's not a very attractive game to bet on. I will say, Larry, you could maybe get a situation. I don't know what the props are for Jacoby Brissett, but if this gets ugly, we could definitely see. Yeah, they don't have any props up. I don't see any Patriots quarterback props. Maybe in anticipation of Drake May. I don't think they'd throw him out here to start, but I do think that if things are ugly, you could see plenty of May in this game.
Yeah, whatever prop he has, he'll need about 45 attempts, averaging 5.3 yards per attempt. It was just so pathetic, that display against the Jets. They never threatened to do
offensive
anything.
line is terrible too.
Yeah, and right, they didn't have time to do anything other than a quick 3-step drop. I do think Hufanga coming back, now it'll be a second game, playing more than just limited snaps will make a difference. Kittle coming back will make a difference. But I think every single trend about Kyle Shanahan and a double-digit favorite, I don't know if he's ever covered one. So, yeah, I wouldn't be looking to lay it. But I would use the Niners in Survivor.
Oh yeah, Niners is a good call. All right, moving along. Oof. Browns at Raiders. Vom. Raiders are -2 after making some business decisions against the Panthers last week. A total of 37 here. I actually think, Mike, this could be an interesting case for maybe just an ugly over, because the Browns pass rate is so high that they may, assuming Gardner Minshew plays again, they may just draw the Raiders into throwing the ball a bunch, and we could see more. We could see this easily go over 40 in kind of a surprising way.
Yep. So that's what I like here, especially at 37 before 37.5. Keep a push alive. I know you don't try to push games, but a 20-17 game and you push, it's not the worst scenario in this spot. So I look at both of these teams. They both still need a win pretty desperately, especially the Browns side. And if things aren't going well, I think these two teams can be extremely undisciplined, talk about personal foul penalties, pass interference penalties, things like that. And it's just a kicker's paradise indoors. I think we could see some field goals as well. So I do like going over the 37 here. Not my favorite play of the week, but I would go over 37.
Anything for you here, Larry?
I could only look at the Raiders side. The Browns, Wyatt Teller's out. They're signing guys off the street for the offensive line. That's how bad it is. And it just seems like Antonio Pierce is a guy. It's hard to get that same level of intensity every single week, but, coming off the business decisions and coming off that first week against the Chargers, they rallied, played a great game in Baltimore. This is, to me, an up and down team, and I think they'll be up.
Okay. RJ, I can't think of a revenge angle. You got one for me?
I have no idea about the rosters in these teams. Cleveland's offensive line looked like it was on the path to good health last week. And now, like Larry said, Teller's on the IR. 4 offensive tackles and 2 guards limited or didn't practice on Wednesday. Not only is Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills on the injury report, for Wills back on the injury report because he re-injured himself. Their backups are on the injury report too. So I don't know who's going to play tackle for them. And even with the limited Max Crosby dealing with injury, we'll see if he plays because I know he's beat up too. As is Myles Garrett, who looks like he's going to continue to play through his injury. It just seems like a stay away for me. I would lean to Vegas just how beat up that Cleveland offensive line is. Hard for them to go on the road and win games, but you're not going to see me laying points with the Raiders at any point this season. So going to be a stay away.
Chiefs at Chargers in an AFC West matchup that is still up in the air on whether or not Justin Herbert is going to play in this one. We have a Chiefs -7 here, a little bit juiced. Larry, is now the time to get in on the Chiefs in the event that either Herbert doesn't play or he's limited?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had waited because I jumped on the Chiefs at over 7, and I thought this was going to trend towards 10. And even if Justin Herbert plays, which it seems like he's leaning towards playing, you probably down both of your starting tackles. And when they lost Rashawn Slater in the second half, they were winning that game 10-7 against the Steelers, and they looked very competitive. They lost Rashawn Slater. They couldn't do anything. And then they lost Joe Alt in the last series of the game. You're also down Derwin James. It's Bosa probably out. So you're down probably 4 of your top 6 players. And I think the Chiefs, this is a good matchup for Patrick Mahomes. We've seen him crush the Chargers in the past, 25 TDs, only 6 INTs. And I know they've been playing with their food and, having all these tight games. I think this is the breakout game where they put up 30 and win by double digits, regardless of who plays quarterback.
Is this the Travis Kelce breakout game, Mike?
It is. It is absolutely Travis Kelce breakout game. So I was just looking and building. I like the over 4.5. I like 44.5 yards, and I like a touchdown plus 170 or better.
Oh, you really? All right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah,
I was like kind of asking in earnest, but like a little bit of sarcasm because he's been so bad. You think this is really like an actual spot he blows up?
I do. Yeah. I think it's the dome, the controlled environment. Mahomes has talked about his struggles. We've seen Travis Kelce on the podcast talking about his struggles. It's a game that they know that they can win, especially if Herbert's not there. Even if Herbert is there, they're so banged up on the other side. I think this is one where they get back to it, but it has to be about Derwin James. Like when you remove the Travis Kelce killer, the guy that's going to shut him down, and the way Rashee Rice is playing right now, teams are going to start focusing on Rashee Rice more and more. When you look at the running game, I think that Travis Kelce will be an extension of the run game. I think he's going to see several quick hitter targets right around the line of scrimmage, just like we kind of saw to start the second half. You watched that Atlanta Falcons game. He was miserable on the sidelines. They came out of the locker room, went right to him to start the second half. Didn't really have the ability to keep going there, but I think some of that was a product of the way Atlanta was defending. I like the spot for Travis Kelce. The numbers are insane. 4.5, 44.5, and a touchdown.
Anytime touchdown is like plus 170 for Travis Kelce. That's crazy. I mean, if you think, by the way, if you think he's going to score a touchdown, I think it's a good bet, like plus 170 for here. You should really like sprinkle a little bit on like touchdown ladders, just because sometimes he goes off and if he sees the red zone targets, see him have, a week from now, we're talking about, we're worried about Kelce and he's got 3 touchdowns in this game, or maybe 0, RJ. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows with him? Mark is not expecting Herbert to play, I think, on this number. Probably shouldn't have played last week with this game on deck. Kansas City hasn't looked in sync on either side of the ball. It seems like, again, they're going to sleepwalk through the regular season because they don't need to play up to their potential until we get to January. So can't lay points with them, this many points with them on the road, 7, 7.5, whatever you can get. Heineke has flashed when called upon before. It's going to be tough without the tackles, maybe running for his life there against that defense. But if it just feels like Harbaugh plays, runs and plays defense and finds a way to keep it close in a lower scoring game for Kansas City than you might expect. So don't really have any interest in playing this game.
All righty. Moving along to the Bills at the Ravens Sunday Night Football, a fantastic matchup. The only complaint I would have here is that we robbed from the CBS airwaves, an AFC battle between Baltimore and Buffalo. Baltimore minus 2.5, a total of 46.5. If I had my best bet here would be the over 46.5. I think we see plenty of points. I'm sure the Ravens would love for it to be a Derrick Henry game, but the other thing I really like, and that I put in my picks column, is Lamar Jackson over rushing yards. And the reason why is that we've seen it so far this season. When Lamar feels it's a big must-win game, week 1 against the Chiefs, week 3 against the Cowboys, he is not afraid to activate his legs, and his rushing attempts go way up. The offensive line questionable. Buffalo can get some pass rush. I think we see a big Lamar Jackson game in this one. You've got a player prop as well, Larry.
I like Justice Hill to go over this receiving yards number. Got it at 13.5. I think it might be 14.5. Still go over that. I mean, he's the clear pass catching back. And when you look at how great Buffalo has been, they still are giving up the 3rd most receiving yards to running backs. Their weakness is still the linebackers in coverage, and teams haven't exploited that enough. But to me, Justice Hill, he's averaging 4 targets per game, probably needs 2 catches to get this number. Absolutely love this prop.
RJ, what you got here?
I'm going to back
Mike. You back with a showdown situation, maybe, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to back my Bills here. Like, I'm always the eternal pessimist when it comes to the Bills. When I see what they did in those last 2 games, they haven't looked that good as complete performance back-to-back games ever. I think I've seen. I'm starting to get a little post Tyreek Hill vibes, getting rid of Diggs, and now he's spreading the ball around, looking good, running the ball. Offense can play up to its potential and not have to worry about keeping certain people happy. And this defense, like, what a job the defense coordinators and the coaches have done battling through injuries to have this defense looking as good as it is. So I have them rated as the best team in the league with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are a better team in the playoffs, but in the regular season with what we've seen the last year plus from them, I think it's fair to call these two equal, a little bit of a step above Baltimore, which has a great offense, but that offensive line got beat up last game. Tyler Linderbaum did not practice on Wednesday, the knee injury. That would be a massive loss. You also have injuries to the right tackle mispractice, the left guard, I believe, mispractice. The right guard, I think, is okay, but dealing with an injury too. So this Baltimore offensive line was already an issue coming into the season. It has kind of been their Achilles heel whenever it hasn't worked offensively. And now you got to beat up offensive front up against this very good Buffalo, defensive line. So I think the Bills are the play here. I know Mike disagrees with me though.
Yeah, I like the Bills here. I mean, the Ravens here. I like the Bills as well. I think these two teams are phenomenal, and I really can't wait to watch these matchups. But I think the home field in prime time is worth a lot here. And I also think some of the games that the Ravens have played in already give them a lot of experience and edge early in the season. The way they played against Kansas City, you can't fault anyone for losing in prime time on the road to the Kansas City Chiefs right now. I know that the Chiefs haven't looked like the complete team, but it is still almost impossible place to go get a win. And then they took advantage of the opportunity down in Dallas and did what they were supposed to do. And we're all going to talk about the game that they lost to the Raiders. When you look at the game they lost to the Raiders, it was penalties, right? It was uncharacteristic penalties, 11 penalties, 109 yards. They gained more yards by 120 yards in the game. They held the Raiders to 27 yards rushing in the game. It's just a spot where I think the Ravens are a very, very good football team. And they've done all of this while Justin Tucker has struggled, missed a few key field goals this year. I personally think he's still an elite kicker. I personally think he's still going to bounce right back. But it's really the pass coverage. Larry kind of mentioned it with Buffalo. Where they're vulnerable is going to be with those linebackers. And when you add in the fact that you watch the end of the Dallas game, the play that stood out to me the most was the play that Lamar really put that game away. And it was a handoff. It was a play action play or a read to Derrick Henry that everyone thought Henry had the ball. The camera thought Derrick Henry had the ball. Lamar Jackson being able to do that combined with the way that Buffalo defends defensively, I actually think it's just like Travis Kelce. I think it's a Mark Andrews spot over 29.5 receiving yards. I think the middle of the field is what's going to be open here for the Ravens.
Larry.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in on the penalties. They're leading the league with 93 penalty yards per game, and I believe they are net minus 160 or something in the first 3 games. So that is going to even out. You can't just say they're the most undisciplined team in the league. So I think they're going to start to get some benefit of that.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a Monday Night Football doubleheader next.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All right, we got 2 games on Monday night to get out of here, and they couldn't be more different. The first one is the Titans and the Dolphins, which might feature Tim Boyle against the Will Levis, and like get your jokes off while you can. He's making like hilarious mistakes every week, but it's actually like played decently. And that offensive line is a problem for Tennessee. The Dolphins, inexplicably, Mike, are a 1-point favorite here with a 36.5 point total.
I'll give you some analysis on this. There are 2 games on Monday night. Watch the other one. I'm not playing this game. I'm not watching it. I'm completely out. I'd love to hear what these guys have to say, though.
Larry,
I mean, if it's Tyler Huntley, then that gives the Dolphins a better chance. I mean, yeah, the Titans should be the right side. They have a good defense. There's just no way you can bet on them right now. You have to have a stronger stomach than me because you know that Will Levis catastrophic mistake is coming.
Yeah, RJ, I think you had the Titans week 1 and went back to them in week 2. And it's like Will Levis just makes it's like he can make every throw ever, but he can make the worst throw. I mean, it's every week. Like I added a section to my column on Sunday called like Will Levis fan art of the week, where I post like whatever the video or the screenshot is of him doing something stupid.
Yeah, man, just stop doing too much. Like you actually have the offensive line hasn't played well, but I thought there's been times where it has looked pretty solid. Defense is good. You know, you don't have to go out and win games on your own. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whatever. Just play within yourself. Rating save values on the Miami side, quarterback situation. I need to know who's playing quarterback. I like Huntley better, like Larry's saying, than banged up Skylar Thompson. Definitely better than Tim Boyle. Do not want any piece of the Dolphins if Boyle is the quarterback. Levis, just need to lean on the solid players around him. Hopkins is back. DeAndre Hopkins going to be healthier moving forward, and that Miami defense is beatable. So if I had to lean one way, it was going to be Tennessee. But I just need to see what's happening at quarterback for the Dolphins.
All right, let's go to the good game on Monday night, kicking off at 8:15. By the way, you want to know? Think you can guess which one of these games is the Chris Fowler, Orlovsky, Lou Riddick, and which one is Troy and Joe? I mean, come on. Imagine if Troy and Joe got stuck doing the Titans and the Dolphins. Seahawks at the Lions. Lions minus 3.5 with a total of 46.5. I mean, I guess this is a hot take, Larry, but I mean, Detroit's 2-1, Seattle's 3-0. This is like a sneaky, could be NFC Championship rematch.
It could be. I mean, I love what the Seahawks have done, but I want to take it with a grain of salt. I can only look at the Lions in this spot, although not having Frank Ragnow is a big deal. But when you look at the Seahawks, they had Bo Nix in his first start ever on the road. They had to go to overtime to beat a Patriots offense that somehow looked very competent against them that week. And then they beat Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins at home. So right now, to me, it'd be Lions or pass.
Okay. RJ, what about you? I know you're a Lions guy.
Yeah, ratings say to hammer the Lions. I'm still very high on the Lions, as Seattle, like Larry said, has not played anyone yet, especially at the quarterback position. But just like I said with the Eagles-Buccaneers game, I don't know that these are the Seahawks and the Lions with all the injuries on both sides of the ball. You talked about Ragnow. Detroit, Sam Laporta is hurt. We'll see if he plays. Marcus Davenport, I think, is lost for the year. Lee McNeil hurt. Derek Barnes, talented linebacker, hurt. Brian Branch hurt. It's just go up and down the field. And the Seattle offenses look good. So you get several key guys on defense. If they're missing the game, if the offensive line is weaker because Ragnow's not out there, Seattle could score points in this game. So I need 3 if I'm going to play Detroit and trust my ratings and that they're still a very good team, because that is a lot of injuries to deal with. So if it gets down to 3, I'll consider them. Otherwise, I'm staying away.
What do you say, Larry or Mike?
Yeah. I think very similar analysis there. I like the Lions side. It's Lions side or nothing. You got to call into question the Seahawks. I think that they're getting too much respect for Mike McDonald, who, again, is phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. But I need to see it against a better opponent. As Larry mentioned, rookie quarterback in his debut, not the version of Bo Nix that just beat the Bucs. It was truly his debut in that hostile environment. Barely beat the Patriots and really couldn't put the Dolphins away. The Dolphins were in that game, just failed to score touchdowns in the red zone. They were there in the red zone 3 times. And I'm talking deep red zone, like inside the 13-yard line, and just were not able to put points on the board. So yes, it's a credit to that defense, but you got to think any competent quarterback would have been able to put some points on the board and make that one more competitive. So
Mike, did you have a bet on the Dolphins? It sounds like
I did have a bet on the Dolphins that day. I think that was the only bet in the NFL I lost last week was the Dolphins plus 4.5. Yep.
I actually, I'll real quickly, I'll say too, I think I like this under. Two teams with like very potentially explosive offenses, but also teams that may want to try to run the ball, and two pretty good defenses. I think the Lions defense is maybe better than people. It's starting to come together on the back end at least. And Jared Goff with like very low pass. He had 55 attempts against the Bucs, but like 18 to 23 or something like that. I mean, and they were trailing pass funnel, all that. So I think we can see maybe like a little bit less thrilling game in this one. All right, that'll do it for us. All the best bets for week 4. Another exciting week of the NFL. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure to watch the Early Edge every day at 10 a.m. Of course, we have our pregame shows for every primetime show on the YouTube as well. And if you want to check out sportsline.com, use promo code WINNERS. Get 60% off an annual plan. Just head to sportsline.com/join to sign up and get that 60% off. That'll do it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Mike, for RJ, for Larry, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.